What would you say to those out there who say, I voted for Ronnie Cochran, he didn't do what he said he was going to do, and I'm not voting for him again? What do you say to people who are disappointed with what they believe is inaction at this point? You ran on hope and change.
Yes.
And where's the hope and change? You are listening to the East Texas Banner right here at easttexasbanner.com. We've got the privilege today of sitting down with Newton County Judge Ronnie Cochran. Mr. Cochran, I appreciate you taking time with us.
Thank you, Jay.
Definitely want to update the people as to what's going on in Newton County. It seems like there's a lot of things going on in the county.
There's a lot of things going on in the county.
And so one of the things we want to do to start out is we want to talk about some of the positive things that's going on. Obviously, you know, there's a lot of things happening. You know, ESD 6 is going on right now. It got passed.
ESD 6 got passed in the November election.
Okay.
We passed it with a 0% property tax.
Okay.
So right now they have no funds, and we don't ever intend to add a property tax to it. But basically, for those that don't know, ESD 6 was for ambulance service for Newton County.
Okay.
All right. Now on the ballot, we've got the board picked. I picked a board member from each fire department. Well, I asked the fire departments to nominate. So the board, ESD 6 board, comes from every fire department in Newton County. Okay. We got 5 members, and then 2 alternate members. There's 7 fire departments. So, and you know, they'll step in, you know, for after a 2-year term for board members that want to step down. Gotcha. So we've got the election ordered, or they got the election ordered. That's May 3rd. May the 3rd for 2% sales tax. Okay, so basically sales tax will fund ESD 6. Sales tax if passed. If passed, sales tax will fund ESD 6. Okay. All right, we also have a lady that she had a family member that needed an ambulance, and they had to wait an hour and a half or close to 2 hours for an ambulance. So she has stepped up, and if the sales tax passes, she will donate to ESD number 6 $250,000 for the purchase of ambulance, and to the money to fund the ambulances for 5 years. Okay. So that's a pretty significant donation. Absolutely. And we really appreciate her stepping up to do that. That's huge. So basically, one way or another, Newton County is going to have an ambulance. Yes. Okay. You know, in the 2% sales tax, you know, everybody in the county can vote on it, with the exception of the city of Newton. The city of Newton already has. So it's countywide. Yes, countywide. Okay. The city of Newton already has 2% sales tax. So basically, 2% sales tax. If you spend $1. You buy a $1 candy bar, it's going to cost you $1 too. But if you have the state sales tax, you know, which is 6 1/4, it would just bump the sales tax up to 8 1/4, which is what you pay in the city limits of Newton. So where are they going to be able to vote on this? For those that do not live in the city limits, but most of the polling places will be open. There'll be 7 days of voting for this. Okay. The Civic Center will be open. The early voting will be at the tax office, and then the normal polling places like the Cade Building in Burkeville. Okay. Down in Deweyville Community Center at Toledo Bend. Just a normal polling places where people go vote. So it's a 7-day window starting May 3rd. May 3rd is the actual voting date. I believe it's 7 days prior. 7 days prior to May 3rd. Yes. Okay. 7 days prior to May 3rd. May 3rd is the election for the sales tax, or the voting for the sales tax to be passed. Do you consider yourself, I mean, a proponent of this? Yes. Okay. So it's, you know, basically, you know, looking through trying to fund, keep an ambulance. You know, one of the ambulance providers wanted $1 million a year, just to stage 1 ambulance. You know, and the county we didn't have the funds for that. So by creating, you know, I thought we could create an ESD Didn't want to increase the property taxes on anybody, but, sales tax, everybody pays sales tax that comes through the county. It stops and buys them. They're going to pay a sales tax. So that will affect everybody coming through Newton County, whether they're going fishing at Toledo Bend or coming up to their hunting lease,
Right.
buying corn, or, that may not be, whatever they buy, in Newton County, that would just help fund our ambulance service.
Okay, all right. So we've also got the community center that's coming in.
Yes.
And that's in the process right now, I guess, being bid on?
No,
construction?
it's fixed it's in the final architectural stages.
Okay.
We have a team from the county that has been meeting with the architect.
Okay.
A couple of the commissioners and our grants coordinator, and they have picked out, basically designed the building.
Okay.
So final stages of that, it should go out for bid in the next couple of months. So
Okay.
hopefully within the next 2 years, we'll have our new community center / shelter of last resort.
Okay. That's going to be located over at the, over near the old prison area?
Yes, it's going to be located on the county land near the old prison.
Okay. All right. So there's kind of I guess you might say a thought process or maybe a narrative that's been out here for a while now. And the narrative has been that you ran on hope and change.
Yes.
And where's the hope and change?
All right.
And so kind of to qualify that a little bit, there was talk about when you guys ran, there was talk about the audit that y'all were going to do, one of these forensics audits. Well, then we get into it and we realize, my God, it's going to cost over $100,000 potentially.
Well, it's $100,000 per year.
$100,000 per year of auditing.
Yes.
Is what you're saying. Okay.
Yes. So a forensic audit going back 6 years will cost $600,000.
Yeah. Okay.
So
it's not cheap.
It's not cheap.
Okay.
And basically the funds right now are not available.
What would you say to those out there who say, I voted for Ronnie Cochran, he didn't do what he said he was going to do, and I'm not voting for him again? Now, obviously, you can't change who people's going to vote for.
No.
But what do you say to people who are disappointed with what they believe is inaction at this point? Okay.
Now, the way the Commissioners Court is set up, and for those that think that, I apologize, but, there's 5 voting members on Commissioners Court.
Right.
And basically, I carry the same vote as the commissioner. So I'm 1 vote out of 5. And it takes.
Do you vote on everything?
I do not vote on everything. I try to vote on a tiebreaker. Okay. Or if there's a majority vote needed for something to be passed, everybody, I will vote.
Okay.
But if 2 commissioners vote one way and 2 vote another way,
right.
I'm basically the tiebreaker.
Gotcha.
So
okay.
that's the way I try to operate as far as Commissioners Court.
Okay.
Now, there was a lot of talk about, the county's missing, $2 million.
Sure.
Now, I've got all the budgets from, I started in 2012, going over the budgets, and that's just the first ones I've went over, from 2012 to 2024. And I've got them printed out there, all sitting right there. Going through them, I noticed a line item, going to each commissioner from Newton County Correctional Center. Well, doing an investigation, figuring out what NC, what that was actually the prison that was here in Newton. Okay. And they were paying the county so much per year.
Okay.
Well, the commissioners were getting, and it varied, some years 50,000, some years 30, and I guess it varied on the amounts. But the commissioners were getting, each commissioner was getting money from the prison operation.
Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong. The prison is in operation. When the prison was in operation,
The county,
they were paying the county kind of a stipend or
Yes.
like a whatever we want to call it. They were paying the prison because it was funded and functional.
yes,
They were paying money.
they were basically leasing it from the county.
Okay.
It was a
So
county.
that money was being split up somehow or another.
It went to the county, it went to the commissioners, each got some of it.
Okay.
Well, the prison shut down in 2012.
Okay.
All right, there was no more money coming in.
Right.
But from 2012 to 2021, the commissioners,
Was still getting that money.
they were still getting it, and it was a budget oversight. It was a line item that our budget system is so archaic that you have to go in and change every line item on the budget.
Sure.
But new software to do that is for budget software is like over 50,000, and then it's a yearly maintenance fee. So,
But to be honest with you, if we're calling an ace and a spade, we could have probably taken 2013's money going to the commissioners and bought that
yes.
software.
Well, that was, and it totals up to almost $2 million. That went to each, not to each precinct, divided amongst the four precincts. So that money, and I think that accounts for a lot of the $2 million that
That quote unquote went missing.
As far as Newton County receives a little over $7 million a year in tax money.
Right.
Okay. Years, and let's see how I can phrase this. Our auditing practices over the years, the county assets, which, basically land, buildings, that was included into the cash. So if you would look at the cash on hand, and, it would show we'd have $4 or $5 million, and actually we wouldn't have near that amount because the assets were included into the cash.
So the assets were actually being valued with the cash monies that was.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so, and then past budgets were based off the cash money. So if you look back, a lot of those years, we had unbalanced budget. So we were actually spending out more than what we were receiving in tax money.
Okay.
So, and it all come to a head, when in 2022 in August, when the county had
Nothing.
200 and something thousand in the bank,
Right.
and we still had 1.3 million in payroll
Right.
for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
So the ARPA money, that's where the American Rescue Plan Act, it was basically COVID money that was given to every county, city, and it was $200 for every resident.
Right.
So with the population that we had, they were able to use it as lost revenue.
Right.
And pay the county's bills and wages and make it through that year.
Yeah.
Well, then when I took over in 2023, studying around and looking at the numbers,
Right.
Newton County was, we were showing like $1.3 million in debt. Yeah, and that figures a little,
Right.
1.2, 1.3 million in debt services.
Right.
And basically debt services is, it's a debt that is backed by the taxpayers of Newton County.
Okay, so let's talk through that for a second. So debt services. So whenever money comes in to the county from the taxpayer,
Yes.
right off the top, what's the first thing that comes off the top?
When you get your tax,
Because it's already allocated.
yes,
to these
it's already allocated. All right, the way the law reads is a certain percentage of that money comes off the top for indigent care.
Okay.
All right, then right below that, debt services come off. So that's basically debt services is bonded debt, like a bond, any debt it's secured by the taxpayers of Newton County.
So any debt that's out here Basically meaning, I mean, what could fall under debt services?
Debt services be like a bond to rebuild the old jail to a prison, or kind of like the school bond where,
Right.
that something that's voted on by the taxpayers of Newton County.
Right.
Or, like we're building a radio tower in
Sure.
South County. The tower is condemned, they can't climb it.
Right.
The antennas got destroyed during the hurricane. So South County has no radio service for the deputies, which is a dangerous issue.
Sure.
They have to rely on cell phones. So the county is building a radio tower.
Right.
And it's right at $600,000 with a
Does that
tower.
fall under debt services?
That will fall under debt services.
Okay.
Because basically we're getting a loan.
Right.
And we're going to tie it into, like this year I budgeted $100,000 to pay on a radio tower.
Okay.
So we'll get the loan and then budget $100,000 every year for 6 years until it's paid off.
Okay. So debt services. So in talking about debt services, there was what actually was going on with debt services that you were seeing in y'all's and it wasn't a forensics audit. This is just a going through the paperwork, looking at what's going on audit.
Basically, there was an exception allowed during one of the hurricanes that allowed the county to purchase equipment under debt services, and it was.
Remember what year roughly this was?
I'm not sure if it may have been Hurricane Laura or before. But one of the hurricanes, the county was allowed to purchase needed equipment under debt services. Well, that continued on. All the trucks, the motor graders, we had a mechanic's truck purchase, grapple truck, for debris truck.
Right.
So the county ended up with like over $1 million in debt services. So the way the budget, tax money works, indigent care, then debt services comes off. So that's $1 million, over $1 million coming off the top.
Right.
And then the commissioners get 15%. That's split amongst 4.
And that money is actually like this. If I was one of the commissioners, I would get a certain chunk of money each year. Then I'd have to figure out how I'm going to handle all the roads, all the bridges, and I'd have to figure out how I'm going to employ all my people. I'd have to figure out, what projects we can look at, what projects we can't.
Yes.
We'd have to also look at what equipment we can purchase, what equipment we can't purchase, all with that money.
Yes.
Not debt services money.
And then there's a certain amount of that money that's mandated by the state that has to be fixed on, has to be used road and bridge.
So then if I'm a commissioner, then the money you guys give me, a certain percentage of that money has to be used on road and bridge.
Road and bridge.
Okay, so it whittles their number on down.
Yes.
But the commissioners here in Newton County were being allowed the continuation of this situation for purchasing equipment off of this hurricane stipulation, hurricane exemption. Basically.
Yes. So basically it was coming out of the county's budget instead of the commissioner's budget for all their equipment. Well, in 2023, I got with the auditor and the comptroller. So basically what we had was collateral debt. We didn't have bonded debt.
Okay.
Nothing we had certified could be certified as bonded debt.
And bonded debt's the only kind of debt that can go under debt services.
Yes, it's backed by the taxpayers of Newton.
Gotcha.
So I didn't certify any debt in 2023 or 2024. Now that doesn't mean the county doesn't have debt. We have collateral debt. We have, vehicle notes for the sheriff's department, stuff like that. But it's not bonded debt.
Gotcha.
So basically, everything's thrown back on the departments that if you want to buy a vehicle, it comes out of your budget.
Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong here. The roughly $2 million that was missing, if we're just using that as the colloquial term, right?
Yes.
The money that was missing was the continuation of prison money that actually wasn't coming in.
That's part of it. Continuation of the payout to the county that wasn't actually being received.
Where was that money coming from then? So if the prison goes away and they've been given $20,000 to $50,000 a year,
that comes straight out of it comes straight out of the general fund.
So it gets sucked out of the general fund because we had a line item in there that says this money comes in, but we had no way of tracking that money actually coming into the.
Yes.
Okay, so we're looking at a documentation. We're looking at some sort of documentation saying, okay, we're paying this out each year.
Yes.
But we have no way of figuring out if it actually came in.
Yeah, basically, yes.
So basically, you didn't have an ARAP team here.
Yes.
Okay.
So the money wasn't coming in, but it was still coming out of the general funds.
In case anybody doesn't know what that term is, accounts receivables, accounts payables. You didn't have that in Newton County between 2012 to 2024 to say, hey, look at this money's no longer coming in, we can't pay it anymore. And then on top of that, so on top of the situation with the prison, you also had some kind of, I would say, a little bit of maybe some fraudulent aspect, fraudulent or ignorant one, we'll just say that, with the situation on the numbers.
The numbers, the assets were included in the cash.
Assets were counted in there.
So, when it come down, where's the money?
Right.
Well, this is not.
There wasn't any money.
This is not actual money. This is county assets.
Gotcha.
It's not cash.
So the budget was being based off of incorrect numbers.
Yes.
So there you have a twofold issue. Then you throw in the debt services issue, where they're actually utilizing the monies that is meant for bonded debt, and they're going out and illegally buying, because it's illegal. That would be, I would say, in a court of law, that would probably fall under some legality issue when you're going to purchase collateralized properties. Right?
They use the letter saying that, with the exemption under the hurricane,
right.
And that's the way you.
Yeah, but there's also a time frame where that exemption goes away.
Yes.
Right? And just like the prison went away, the exemption went away, and just like the actual cash value in the budget went away, because now we were lump summing all of our properties and the values of those properties to say that we were kind of inflated.
Yes.
On our price.
Basically, our bottom numbers were inflated.
So really, in the long run, it's not real crazy to believe that all this is going on, considering what's happening in Washington.
Yes.
This stuff is happening on a local level.
Yes.
And if we want to say it was malice or evil intent, that's one thing. But looking at this for what it is, it seems like there was just a lot of no oversight on some of this.
Basically, no oversight. Then, 2023.
Right.
We passed basically what was a balanced budget.
Sure.
For 2024. Right. Because I was running off the 2023 budget that was created from the previous year. Mm-hmm. All right, 2024, we allocated a balanced budget.
Yeah.
I did the little percentage tax increase to get another 500,000.
Right.
But basically balanced budget.
Okay.
So now looking at 2024, now we're 160,000 short of tax collection. But we went on a 96% rate. You never go on a 100% collection rate, because you're never going to get 100%. So this year we're looking at dropping that down to 90 or 92%, because we're 160,000 short from taxes that didn't get collected last year. So.
And why? Let me ask you this: what is a legitimate reason for taxes to not be collected?
People can't pay their taxes. They may pass away and their land goes to somebody else.
Or in probate or whatever.
In probate,
So it's
taxes,
just wadded up in the system.
yes.
So you guys, in order to try to handle moving forward, you're going to try to reduce that amount
gonna try
that
to
you're banking off of.
I'm gonna reduce the amount from 96% to 92%, 90 to 92.
Okay.
You know, so that's gonna eliminate some of the money that, you know, the county, it's like over $7 million in tax revenue
Right.
for the year.
Right.
And that's to run every office, sheriff's department, tax office, you know, the whole county.
Sure.
You know, and a lot of people claim, you know, there's too many employees, you know,
Right.
you're paying too many perks.
Right.
You know, but, you know, you take an employee that's making 30 to 33,000 a
You're
year.
going to pay $50,000 on everything else.
Yes. So,
with health insurance and the whole 9 yards. And I mean,
You know,
it seems to be one of y'all's growing issues is health
Well,
insurance on everybody.
the problem is the majority of the county employees are over 50 years old.
Sure. So that's going to change your rates.
Yes. And to get people, you know, and a lot of the precincts hire, you know, retired people
Right.
because they will work.
Right.
And they're good.
Yeah.
They're really good hands. They will work, but they're willing to work for a lesser amount than what they would somebody that's, you know,
Yeah.
out to.
So let me ask you this then, and this may be a crazy thought. People may just roll their eyes when I say this, but when you guys go out for health insurance, okay? When you go out for health insurance, looking for health insurance, basically, you have to take a list of who all you're looking to insure, the ages and the whole 9 yards.
Yes.
Okay, so it would almost make sense that all the counties of the state of Texas would come together and go to one insurer.
We do. Every county in the state of Texas use the same
They
insurance.
go to the same insurance
Yes.
group.
Texas Association of Counties.
Okay.
And it's contracted through Blue Cross.
Okay.
So every county in the state of Texas, I say every county, the majority
Everyone
of.
that wants
Yes.
to be a part of it.
There's a pool of employees,
Yeah.
of county employees.
Right.
That are handled through Texas Association of
Gotcha.
Counties.
And that's how you guys go through
Yes.
the process. Okay. So let's just take a minute just to recap what you said. Okay. Prison money was coming in for a while. Prison goes away. The money continues to be paid out to the commissioners from 2012 to 2024.
2021.
2021.
And that's when
Okay.
the
So
new auditor came
okay.
in and she
She
questioned.
found that.
She's like, what is this? Where is this?
Okay, so if anybody has a gripe and complaint about the auditor, that ought to help bring some clarity about whether or not she does her job. I mean, 2012 to 2021, come on, man. We're paying $20,000 to $50,000 a year out of the general fund for a prison that no longer exists in the community, no longer employs anyone. It's a ghost town. Right?
Yes.
All right. The second thing you brought up was the budget issues where the assets were being calculated as cash.
Yes.
Okay, which inflated the idea. It's like a person out here having a $100,000 piece of property, and we put that on the paperwork, basically saying we got an extra $100,000, and that is not true. So you guys had to, and I'm assuming the auditor was directly involved in that.
The auditor was the one that found that.
Okay, so the auditor found out that there was some either fraudulent or ignorant handling of how assets and cash are to be allocated and provided out here for building a budget off of, right? Okay, so the other thing was debt services. Did you find this or did the auditor find this?
Well, it
Or
was
the debt services piece of the puzzle?
the debt services, once we found out, I was in a school and they was talking about debt services, collateral debt.
Right.
So, and I talked to the instructor.
Right.
And I told him how the county was, and basically the instructor said, that's illegal. You can't do that.
Wait,
So,
the instructor said it was illegal?
yes.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
Under today's standards, that's illegal. So I called the comptroller's office.
Okay.
And then getting back and forth with the auditor.
Sure.
You know, we wouldn't certify any debt.
Okay.
So, and that, like I say, that doesn't mean the county doesn't have any debt.
Right.
So,
It's just, it's where it's supposed to be.
yeah, it's where it's supposed to be.
Right.
It's not coming off the top before
Right.
before the commissioners
Not
get
coming
their
off
split
of bonded.
and the county gets its split.
Okay. So basically, the commissioners, just a real dumb, simple, blue collar, my version of this. The commissioners was getting money from the general fund that was earmarked as prison money.
Yes.
From 2012 to 2021. There was also an inflation in the amount of cash
Yes.
based on the assets, the county assets being put in the cash line item.
Yes.
To say we had more cash during that same period
And
of time.
previous budgets were based off of those numbers.
Off those numbers, okay. So there was an inflated number, and then the equipment was being purchased by the commissioners through debt services during that period of time as well,
Yes.
okay?
So all the trucks that people complained about.
Sure.
All the.
How they driving all these trucks around?
Yeah, all the new motor graders.
I need to get a new car. Yeah, that type of thing. Yeah. No, so I mean, I'm just, the reason I'm saying that is because the accusation against you is that you guys are doing nothing.
Yes.
Now, I mean, from what I could tell, I don't know about you, but I know that it looks like the auditor is definitely, there's a lot of griping out here about
Yes.
you and the auditor specifically. Why? I don't know. Maybe because you just showed the Wizard of Oz. Because honestly, this right here, if we want to sit here, because the accusation against Kenneth Weeks and his administration was that they were corrupt.
Yes.
You guys ran on, and I say you guys ran on that. There was that sentiment being communicated.
Yes.
That there was some corruption going on. We talked here a while back, and you said you didn't believe it was corruption.
Looking at everything, I don't believe, as far as the budget and the numbers and stuff, there was any corruption going on there. A lot of it, let me back up, a lot of it was, if you don't sit and study it,
But we pay people in the county to do that, right?
if you're not good with the numbers and you just get your budget and look at, hey, I got $10 million.
Yeah.
Well, in actuality, I only got $5 million, and I'm banking on spending this $10 million.
Yeah. It's just kind of one of them deals.
You can get in trouble real quick,
Sure.
and it happened.
So okay. Well,
And that was just kind of an analogy of the
I
numbers.
completely get that, because I mean, it's almost like the county's been running off credit cards and not getting any. They're not getting any bills in.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And I mean, I'm not saying that's what's happening. It just, the analogy is, if I'm at my house and I don't know my budget, or I'm assuming that my assets is a part of the cash value of what I have to spend,
when I come in, my biggest expense has been air conditioning. A lot of the air conditioners are original.
Right.
Some of them 15, 20 years old.
Sure.
So
way before all this eco-friendly stuff.
yes, and then they go out. You can't repair them because, hey, they don't make this Freon anymore.
Yeah.
So, and then this year they come out with a new Freon. So
Sure.
you wonder, do I fix this one?
Yeah.
And then if it breaks again, I have to replace it.
Right.
Do I put a compressor on because this Freon is not going to work with a new Freon?
Right.
So, and then we got geothermal systems in the courthouse, and they're out of date. They were put in when the courthouse was built.
Right.
So they've passed their life expectancy, but you can't replace them. You can't go up in the attic and pull them out because of the rafters. There's no way to remove them. The only way to remove them is cut a hole in the roof and get a crane and pull them out.
And y'all just got a new roof, so I mean,
Yes.
that's the problem.
You don't want to cut a hole in the roof.
That's right.
But when they break,
Yeah.
you have to order the parts, and they have to manufacture
Right.
those parts
Right.
so it's just, and there's only one company now that'll work on them.
Of course. Well, I mean, that tells you everything you need to know about supply and demand.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody's.
Johnson Controls,
Yeah.
works on our geothermal systems here in the courthouse.
Sure.
And we can't come along and put condenser coils on the outside because it's a
Right.
historic building. So
Of course.
that's one thing.
So you're like you're fighting the uphill battle of this historic building.
Yes.
Yeah.
Keeping the inmates cool.
Sure.
And when these ladies start getting hot,
Right.
it's rough around here.
Right. Oh my God! Well, that's probably
just joking, yeah.
that's probably not going to help your cause much, but nonetheless. So jumping over to another topic, because money has been the biggest gripe outside of wondering what it is that you're doing. Because I mean, out of sight, out of mind. People look up and they're like, you don't have Elon Musk coming down here
Yes.
and doing his thing, but you guys are. Sitting in here trying to figure out what's happened and what's going on, right? But it seems like the county's got a couple of litigation situations.
Yes.
And what's the current update? Because I know Mr. Kelly's got a litigation against you guys, got a lawsuit against you guys specific to Freedom of Information request.
Yes.
What's the update on that? Because I mean, does he have all the information yet? You guys kind of.
He was provided the information. Now I seen he'd filed, and I can't touch much on it because it's still ongoing. But I seen he'd filed another motion that the county didn't provide him, everything he asked for.
Okay.
But and I didn't read the whole thing, but
Right.
I think it has to do. The county had to redact addresses, social security numbers.
Sure.
So. I'm not sure what all got redacted, but
And when we say redacted is a fancy word for using a black marker,
Yes.
marking through something. Correct.
well, basically all this information was electronic.
Right.
So our county attorney went through every page,
Right.
marked off social security numbers,
Yeah.
addresses. I think the names were left, but and that goes from every jury. Everybody that ever received a check from the county
Yeah.
to inmates.
Yeah, because it wasn't just like he was asking for last year's income statements.
Yes, he asked for complete
everything
banking records.
for multiple years.
Yes.
Okay.
And it turned out to be many thousands of pages, and it was time consuming for.
Do you feel like looking back at the situation, if you could have done it your way, would you have just gave him the information?
I see both sides.
Okay.
I see how much time it took the treasurer, the auditor, and the
Right.
DA's office.
Right.
How many hours it took for that one request. And there have been requests put in before.
Sure.
People wanted, and it took, a couple of weeks to get all this information together.
Right.
And then they never come pick it up.
Right.
But I see both sides.
Okay.
David asked for the records.
Right.
And then it took a couple of weeks for, multiple officers getting all this information together.
Sure.
Because some of it's electronic, a
Yeah,
lot of
because-
it, they had to go through the files,
Right.
we had to keep paper copies.
Right.
So I see the cost to the county,
Yeah.
the tying up of the county employees,
Yeah.
fulfilling that request, not being able to do the payrolls and,
Sure.
and them having to work over to try to get everything out.
Right.
So that's hard to say,
Yeah.
whether I would have just gave
Let it
him.
go. Yeah, well, I mean, it's kind of set a precedence now. So there's anybody who has a Freedom of Information request is now, once it gets over how many pages they're charged?
Well, it's 8 hours.
8 hours. So if it takes over 8 hours, there's a charge
Yes.
that's kind of complimentary of the charge that the state
Yes.
or the who is the group that actually.
The Texas Attorney General,
The Attorney General's office.
the county followed the Texas Attorney General's office guidelines on
Right.
charging for information.
Sure.
The county did charge, the sheriff's office, they would charge a certain amount, because they get lots of
Right.
freedom of information requests. The clerk's
They were
office,
charging beforehand?
yes, the clerk's office was charging.
Okay.
So, and
Well,
it
and
just
that's,
depended.
that was one of the things, for me, whenever I was talking to Mr. Kelly here a while back, was just the fact that there was no official charge, and then there became an official charge as a result of seeing how many man hours this is going to take. I mean, nobody was just sitting around thinking, or maybe they were. Maybe you guys were having maybe y'all were having meetings and stuff, sitting around going, we probably need a charge on this stuff prior to David Kelly putting in his request.
Well, what brought on that official policy was the DA's office come and ask for another person.
Right.
They said they do not have the people to do their daily work and keep up with the amount of information requests or the amount of data that's being requested.
Right.
So they asked for another employee.
Right.
So we told them no.
Okay.
That's and we didn't tell them no like that, but
Right. But I mean,
they come before Commissioner's Court asking for another employee.
Right.
So we took no action on it, and and that's where we come up with
that's where it started.
That's where it started.
Okay. The other lawsuit, I guess, is specific to one of the county employees, Mike Woods.
Yes.
What's the update with that? So basically, to catch everybody up, what was a little bit of the story?
The allegation on Mr. Woods was he lost some lumber off of a county truck, and it injured another driver.
In the oncoming lane.
In the oncoming lane, a piece of wood went through the windshield and hit the guy. Well,
was it a bad injury?
It's a pretty substantial injury. I think he lost an eye.
Bad situation.
It was a bad situation. And this happened in, I think, 2021.
Okay.
So.
And you came into office when?
2023.
2023. Okay.
Okay. I don't know when that's coming to trial.
Okay.
But Texas Association of Counties, our insurance company, they do have lawyers working on that.
Okay.
So I haven't heard an update in probably 6-8 months on that. So.
Okay. So right now, out of sight, out of mind.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Okay. 10-4. So, do we have any idea as to the estimated, what the lawsuits could potentially be as far as payouts?
I have no idea.
Okay.
But with a substantial injury,
yeah,
it could be. It could be
substantial.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's talk for a minute, and we'll kind of wrap up with this: the upcoming budget.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I wanted to touch on one more thing.
Okay.
We appealed FEMA.
Okay.
We owed FEMA saying we owed over $800,000 back. So we wrote up an appeal. Our county attorney, she did a great job on it. As far as timeline, COVID, we was waiting on the SRA to get approval to use the concrete for, so that right there. And then, when I took office, the deadline, we found out in February, the deadline ended March 31st. Yeah. So we went ahead and, as Commissioner's Court decision, we demoed the rest of the 7 properties. Right. At a substantial cost to the county.
Remember what that was?
Over $200,000.
Okay. So, but y'all finished what you
we finished what, but they're saying because the properties were bought out in 2021, right? 2020, 2021, that they didn't get tore down in the 90 days. Right. That that we have to pay the money back. Okay. And there was a couple of substantial properties on there. There was one property that was 127 acres. Okay. So, and we had the Thompson properties down in Deweyville. It was, one of them was 400 and something thousand. So that's a pretty substantial amount on the total. But FEMA disallowed that since we didn't get them tore down. Right. So we sent an appeal.
Now, when you say we, the county.
The county sent an appeal.
Right. Well, I mean, what I'm saying is, when you say we didn't get them torn down in the 90 days, the 90 days is back in 2021, right?
Yes.
So 2021, 90 days elapsed, and then FEMA starts asking for their money back.
Yes, when
I'm saying you inherited.
yes, when they started closing out the grant,
right,
in 2023, you know, this was not allowed because the properties didn't get tore down in the allotted time.
right, okay,
So the county sent an appeal to FEMA. All right, January the 14th, we got a denial letter. So with the new administration coming in, everything going on, you know, we reapply, you know, we reappeal.
right.
So hopefully for a different outcome to where, you know, we followed everything that, you know, the properties are tore down.
Right.
Everything's to the letter of the grant, with the exception of it didn't follow the timeline that they specified.
Actually, 2.5, 3 years later.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Okay.
everything.
Was there any reason? Was there any, we'll say, competent reason as to why they hadn't already addressed those properties before you came into office?
No.
No competent reason given. Okay. All right. But you inherited it.
Yes.
So I guess my next question is, my next question would be, so you're basically waiting on your second appeal.
Yes.
Okay. So you're waiting on your second appeal. All right. What are we looking at coming into this new budget, you think?
As far as
just what's the upcoming budget looking like?
Yeah, I think we'll pretty well have the same budget we had last year.
Okay.
You know, as far as I've asked the city to help pay for the library because, you know, 90% of the people that use the library here in Newton are
it's city folks.
City folks.
Right.
You know, and
we use that loosely around here, by the way.
yes. It was agreed upon for the 2024 budget, but, you know, it wasn't put in writing, so it didn't happen.
Wait, okay. So clarify that for me. So conversation was it between you and who?
Yes, me, the auditor and assistant city manager, you know, we'd agreed on them paying a certain amount, helping pay.
Assistant city manager being Landon County?
Yes.
Okay.
Certain amount for the library, and then a certain amount toward the, you know, I hired Mark McCall as a emergency manager. So he's also emergency manager for City of Newton too.
Okay.
So, you know, we put that in the budget.
Based off that conversation?
Based off conversation.
Between you, the auditor, and Landon Kelly?
Yes.
Okay.
And then
when it came time to pay, we didn't have nothing on paper.
Nothing on paper, so.
Okay.
So that won't happen again.
Sure.
So
do you think that's a possibility of being able? I mean, because to be honest with you, I mean, you know, I heard Mr. Powell's, you know, statement about it at one point. You know, how many people is driving up from Deweyville to go to the library?
You know, they do have a library in Deweyville, but you know, I cut one of the part-time. Well, I didn't actually cut part-time. I cut some of the money out of the library budget, some of the funding. So they went to 1 day a week in Deweyville at their library.
Right.
So, and some folks are not happy about that.
Right, sure, they're not happy about it, but in the long run, it's like with this situation. You know, if you turned around and you just threw it in the city's lap because, hey, it's the city's library. I mean, come on, man. You know, everybody needs to get on board here or it goes away. How about that? You know, and I hate to be, you know, it seems crass when you're dealing with people's jobs, but to be honest with you, you know, financially speaking, you know, I would like to see the list of how many people from the county actually go to the library here and just say, hey, listen, at least pay the percentage, pay your percentage based on, because everybody who goes in that library signs in. I got to sign in.
Yes.
I don't live in the city, right? I live right outside the city, you know. But I'd like to know, you know, I mean, just pay your portion.
Yes. You know? And you know, libraries are, it's an important part of rural America.
Right.
You know, because there's a lot of people that don't have internet. And, you know, as far as internet, you know, they're spending government grants.
Right.
Close to $80 million.
Yeah.
You know, we got Spectrum coming through.
Right.
Highlines coming in behind them, you know, putting in, you know, and it's service to every home, high-speed internet.
Sure.
And then DECCOG is coming in behind Highline. So we're going to have duplication of services, you know, so a little competition. But to me, the first hurricane that blows through, this $80 million is going to be wiped off the map, because nobody's going to come back and reinstall this fiber that's hanging from every pole in the county. So to me, it's just a big waste of federal dollars. I agree we need high-speed internet.
Sure.
But above ground is not the way to go.
Yeah, it's not the brightest way to go, that's for sure.
Yes.
So,
but see, that's coming from a state level.
right, it's a state push deal. Yeah. So I guess my question is specific to the budget, you know, is it your intention to try to go back to the city and try to get
It is. I'm going to ask for, you know, and
ask for help?
you know, it may not happen,
Right.
but you know, we're prepared for it either way.
Yeah. Okay. Any last things you want to put out to the pissed off and disgruntled out here? You know that Ronnie Cochran ain't doing his job.
Hey, you know, I told everybody I'd give it 100%, and I've gave it my 100%. You know, and I can't please everybody, but you know, and I plan on running again.
Okay.
To give it 100%. So
Yeah.
I'm here for the duration. It just, the voters decide when I go fishing.
There you go. There you go. Well, sounds good. Mr. Cochran, I appreciate you taking time with us today. Appreciate you opening up about all this information. You know, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard for people to see someone or see an administration investigating what all has happened to get you to where you're at.
Yes.
And so maybe today they see that there's a few things that's been turned over, you know, a few rocks that's been flipped over in the process.
There's been a lot of hours spent going over past budgets, past, you know, all the data for
Right.
cash,
Right.
and you know, just figuring out, you know, where this went, you know, how it was paid.
So I guess my last question for you would be this. Accountability. To me, if I go down here to the dollar store and I grab me a buggy and I start going down my favorite aisle, which is the candy aisle, and I start loading up a buggy full of candy, and I head out the front door without taking care of the cashier, I'm going to probably have Mr. Havard come down there and put me in handcuffs, right?
Yes.
All right. Now, I guess my thought is, maybe I didn't know I wasn't supposed to steal it. And I'm not saying anybody's stolen anything, but what I am saying is some of this stuff here kind of falls into gross negligence. I mean, for somebody to roll through $2 million in a community this size because somebody didn't see that the money wasn't coming in, come on, man. So to see all this is one thing. The next step is accountability.
Okay. As far as accountability, you know, there's so many different hands along through there. You know, different commissioners, different judges, different, you know.
Sure.
So, and, you know, everybody missed it. You know, but it's going to be hard to...
So what you're saying is because there's so many different people, the entire county is complicit in gross negligence.
Basically.
Okay.
You know, it's going to be hard to pin it on You know,
Oh, any one person.
any one person, because
Who cuts the checks?
the treasurer, well, maybe the auditor's office.
Okay.
So
the auditor's new, so she's not responsible for it.
yes,
So who was the prior auditor?
Liz Holloway was
Now, how long has she been auditor?
I'm not sure, many, many years.
Okay. Probably encompassing this, what is it? I guess 9-year window, roughly?
Yes,
Okay. But she had to basically cut checks based on what the Commissioner's Court told her to cut checks on?
yes. So the way the process goes is the auditor and the treasurer's office work together for the bill pay and the and the cutting of the checks.
So the auditor was Liz Holloway,
yes,
and the treasurer was who?
Ginger Sims.
Ginger Sims. And how many judges do you think we had during those times? Probably 3.
No,
It would be Kenneth Weeks, and who was that before that?
Kenneth Weeks, Paul Price, Rosemary.
Rosemary was a judge?
Yes.
Okay.
Truman, and then Ronnie Boyette.
Okay.
You know, Ronnie.
Says 2012?
Yes, he got. He wasn't in office long before
Okay.
he got killed. Truman didn't run, so Ronnie Boyette got elected.
Okay.
And then Truman stepped back when Ronnie got killed, and then he, I'm not sure how long he stayed, but he didn't finish the term, so
Okay.
he stepped down, and they appointed Rosemary, and then from Rosemary, Paul Price, and then
Okay.
Kenneth Weeks. So
Okay.
you're looking
So
at
at least a handful.
Yes.
But at the same time, you still had 2 people whose job it was to handle the county's money.
Yes.
And to know where the money's coming in and going out.
And if you think about it, you know, it takes a while to sit here and figure out, you know, exactly, you know, like today's a Friday.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of the county offices are off. They work 4-10 schedule.
Sure.
So, you know, Friday's my day that I can sit here with hardly any interruptions.
Right.
You know, but on a normal day, you have people coming in all the time.
Sure.
It's just between court and county court, and you know.
That makes sense.
Yeah, you know, so it takes a lot of time, you know, with no distraction, to sit here and go through and figure out what has happened, or what is actually happening.
Okay.
So, and it takes, and one person really can't, you know, and I don't say I've done it by myself.
Right.
You know,
Well, obviously the auditor played a role.
I've asked a lot of questions. Why is this? Where's this? You know, why is this like it is?
Right.
You know, and then, you know, you get a couple people asking the same questions, you know, you eventually get your answer.
Right. Well, I guess to finish up on a lighter note, when is when do you start officially running again?
I think I have to file in November.
Okay. And so elections next year?
Yes.
All right. So 2026, you're saying that your name is going to be on the ballot?
It'll be on the ballot in 2026.
10-4.
So,
Mr. Cochran, I appreciate you taking time with us.
yes, sir. Thank you.
And we always appreciate the time, appreciate the information, and hopefully this opens up and clears up maybe some of what you've been involved in and doing.
Yes, and you know, if anybody has any questions, you know, don't hesitate to call me. You know, if I can't get you the answer, I have enough people that we can get you an answer. Now, some of the things I can't get an answer on, you know,
Right.
some legal matters that I can't give you information on.
Right.
As a judge, I can't. You know, and I will refer those people to attorneys.
Gotcha.
You know, I'm like, you need to go talk to an attorney. I can't help you on this.
Sure, sure.
So,
Okay.
but as far as budget county questions, I'd be happy to answer anybody's questions.
10-4. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it there. EastTexasBanner.com.